Hi, what's happening? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and I have three major topics to break down today. First of all, multiple NFL coaches gave their strategy on how to beat Jayden Daniels, but they also said another few things that should probably have you excited as a Commanders fan. Also, the Washington Commanders have an 88% chance to make the playoffs with a Dallas win tomorrow. We're going to break all of that down. And also, the national media still loves the Washington Commanders in power rankings, even after the back-to-back losses to the Steelers and Eagles. We're going to dive into all of that and more, but before we do, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all pulling up to every video, and of course I will be live streaming this game against the Cowboys. Again, I'm expecting, at least I want us to beat them by at least 30 points, so I will be doing play-by-play analysis of the entire game, so make sure you pull up for that. I'm already assuming, you already know, man, we do the call-in shows after victories. I'm already assuming we're going to do that call-in show, man. So let's go ahead and whoop up on them boys real quick. But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go ahead and dive into this video. Let's get it. Adam. Alright, so shouts out to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. He released an article, and that article said that multiple NFL coaches believe that defenses are trying to be more physical with Jayden Daniels due to his rib injury. That's the first thing. We're going to talk about that too. But also, in addition to that, they are blanketing Terry McLaurin so that Daniels has to throw to other targets. Sounds like we need another wide receiver, doesn't it? Also, one NFL defensive coach believes, quote, he will adjust with no problem. He's going to be a superstar, unquote. So just to let you know, this is coming from a Jeremy Fowler article. You know, every, Saturday morning, he puts out an article covering the entire league and everything he's hearing. I mean, literally the entire NFL. He has something to say, I believe, about at least most NFL teams. With us, coming directly from the article, Commanders quarterback Jayden Daniels has faced back-to-back quality defenses in the Steelers and Eagles, who held him to a total of 393 yards, 1 touchdown pass, and 1 interception. After talking to NFL coaches, the sense is that defenses are trying to be more physical with Daniels, who is nursing a rib injury. So let's stop there. It sounds like defenses are taking advantage of the fact that Jayden Daniels is at least hurt, at least playing through pain. Now, again, there's a big difference between playing injured and playing hurt. He's at least playing hurt. You can't tell me that he doesn't have any sort of major discomfort that most of y'all watching this video, I know me myself, would not be playing through right now. I'm pretty sure it's at least enough pain for you to think about the fact that 300-pound grown men are going to be flying at you and trying to hit you specifically in that spot. And that's going to play mental games on you, even outside of just the actual physical pain. You know, it seems like Jayden Daniels is a little bit uncomfortable with running compared to how he used to be before he suffered that injury against the Panthers. I'm just assuming, because also, even just beyond the mental thing, we'll come back to that real soon, but as much as I love Nakobe Dean, he's a Georgia Bulldog and everything, but I would never expect out of a 10 try sample size for Nakobe Dean to tackle Jayden Daniels in the open field one-on-one with all of this space more times than not. I would not, and he accomplished that in that game against the Eagles, where it was that one time. First of all, Austin Eckler and Zach Ertz are both open. He could have just thrown it to them. But even outside of that, when he took off, it looked like he hesitated, like he didn't want to. And it also seemed like he didn't have the same agility that he's shown us earlier in the season, where, again, I love Nakobe Dean, but he should not be able to make an open field tackle on Jayden Daniels. But going back to the mental part of things, it just seems like he's more hesitant. Like, he just doesn't seem as confident about running, even about throwing as well, as far as his accuracy dipping a little bit. He's not taking shots at receivers that he normally would, because maybe he's thinking before he even takes that shot that with the pain that I'm playing through, I may not be able to put the same zip on the ball that I normally would be able to, and things like that. So there's a lot of layers to this, and defenses definitely recognize this, and you can even just tell from when we played the Bears. I'm pretty sure other teams have done it since then as well, but I vividly remember against the Bears, even in plays where Jayden Daniels got the ball out of his hands immediately, they would always find a way to get a little push on him, just a little bit of, here, remember that you have a rib injury, remember that, that. You know what I'm saying? Even though you just hike, throw the ball immediately, we're coming through and at least putting hands on your core, your torso, just to remind you that, yeah, your ribs hurt. And it could be worse than that if you want to hold on to the ball any longer than that. So, and I'm pretty sure defenses have been playing mind games like that against our rookie quarterback. But I'm not too worried about that. I think he'll adjust. First of all, he'll get healthier. He'll be playing through less pain, so that will stop affecting him as much. Even if he doesn't anytime soon, I'm assuming that he will adjust to that. But one thing that's like concerning, that's like I don't exactly know what we're gonna do here. Apparently, through Jeremy Fowler, they are also trying to blanket Terry McLaurin, basically take him out of games and make Jayden Daniels beat them with targets to tight ends, running backs, and other wide receivers. Now, you saw a lot of that against the Eagles. They were doing whatever they could to stop Terry, even having like an extra safety over there at times. And then Jayden Daniels adjusted by throwing the ball to Austin Eckler a lot, to his tight ends a lot, barely other receivers. Noah Brown got a few targets, but you know him, he's going to force a defensive pass interference penalty, but you're not expecting him to necessarily step up and be your true wide receiver too, which is why we have to go get T. Higgins, and why I think we actually will go get T. Higgins in the offseason. It would be really nice to have like a T. Higgins right now. It would be excellent, because then teams wouldn't be able to play us like that. But I just thought it was interesting that a lot of us kind of assumed defenses were doing this against us, and you could even see it in the all 22 footage when you go back and look at these last couple of games. But now the fact that defensive coaches from around the NFL are telling Jeremy Fowler, like, yeah, this is what we're doing, like this, all you got to do is take away Terry McLaurin. Now their offense is struggling, and that needs to be improved upon. Now this season wise, because I do want to make a deep playoff run, I'm not conceding this season at all. I want to make the playoffs. I'm still fighting for winning the division. I would still love to be like have home field advantage in the playoffs. I think that's still very realistic. But this year, somebody has to step up to make that possible. It's not just going to be Terry McLaurin. I like Noah Brown, but he's really more so like a really good wide receiver 3. I like our tight ends. I like our running backs, but somebody's got to step up, man. I mean, I don't really see De'Ami Brown. I mean, especially at this point in his career, his age, I don't see him just suddenly developing and blossoming into like a great receiver or something like that. Maybe Luke McCaffrey has something in him that's docile, that's waiting to explode and come onto the scene. We'll see. It's gonna have to be somebody. With how we're currently set up on offense right now, it's not gonna work. You can do all you want in trying to get the ball, to force the ball to Terry McLaurin, but if a team is literally focusing on taking him away, somebody else should be open at the end of the day. So Jayden Daniels also on his part has to find those open guys, because if defenses are focusing that much attention to Terry McLaurin, somebody's open somewhere else. Even if we don't have like another T. Higgins, like some T. Higgins level receiver outside of Terry McLaurin on the rest of the receiving group, somebody's usually open. They have to be if they're focusing that much attention against Terry McLaurin. So Jeremy Fowler also finished up with saying, so consider this a natural progression for Jayden Daniels as teams get more tape on him. And I think that's a good point. And then an NFL defensive coach who recently prepared for him, so either like the Eagles, maybe the Steelers, maybe a game before that, who knows? But Jeremy Fowler was very specific to mention that. That defensive coach said, quote, he will adjust with no problem. He's going to be a superstar, very savvy and poised, unquote. Again, from that defensive coordinator from a team that we have recently played, just to put that out there. So arguably one of the better defensive coordinators in the NFL. They feel that way about Jayden Daniels. And I also feel like us as fans should as well. Some people are abandoning ship. Some people are saying that Jayden Daniels is a bust. Some people even saying that Jayden Daniels should not have been the pick at number 2 overall and everything like that. That's insane. Because first of all, look at this from Pro Football Focus right here. As you can see, when it comes to deep passes, 20 or plus yards down the field, Derek Carr is the highest graded quarterback in the entire NFL. When it comes to short passes, anything 10 yards or less, well, technically 9 yards or less, that is Baker Mayfield. When it comes to that intermediate area, that's 10 to 19 yards, Jayden Daniels is the highest graded quarterback in the entire NFL. And what's even crazier is because that's like literally what people considered his weakness coming into the NFL. Intermediate throws, especially over the middle, that was considered his weakness. And Pro Football Focus feels like he's literally the best quarterback in the entire NFL at those throws, even after a slightly ugly last couple of weeks, especially the Eagles game. I feel like the Steelers game is blown out of proportion a little bit. Like, I don't feel like he was anywhere near as bad as people claim, but the Eagles game, yeah, he was less accurate and things like that. But even after all of that, still that great. And I know I've already shown y'all these a couple of days ago, but to further prove my point that Jayden Daniels will be okay, matter of fact, better than okay, how about he will still be an elite quarterback at the NFL level? Look at this chart right here. When we're talking about the most accurate passes in the league, especially even as like a rookie, let's talk about Jayden Daniels, because this right here is how effective quarterbacks are at throwing into tight coverage specifically. So when we're looking at EPA per pass attempt, he's number 2 right behind Russell Wilson. When we're taking a look at catchable percentage, that guy Jayden Daniels is number 1, and it's not even close with the guy that's in second place in Justin Herbert. Jayden Daniels is all the way at the top right of the screen, so that lets you know that he's the best quarterback at throwing passes in the tight coverage. That also lets you know that his receivers probably aren't getting open as often as they probably should be, because of the fact that he even has to throw tight passes in coverage that often for him to be the most efficient at it. But either way, when receivers are in tight coverage, Jayden Daniels basically throws the best ball to throw them open. No matter what the coverage is, Jayden Daniels is going to find a way to squeeze it in there to where I know the receiver isn't open college-wise, but he's NFL open. He's open enough for a guy like Jayden Daniels, maybe not for a lot of these other quarterbacks that you see on this list, but they're open enough for Jayden Daniels to get the ball there. And I just feel like that's something that you can't really teach. That's something you can't even necessarily take away. No matter what you do as a defense, if you're playing chess, you have all of the pieces in the right places, you do everything right schematically and strategy wise, and then the guy that the corner covering the wide receiver has them blanketed, and then Jayden Daniels just finds a way to throw the ball in there in the tightest of windows. There's nothing you can do, and that's why I feel like Jayden Daniels' game will translate even against great defenses moving forward. I feel like he'll learn from these last 2 games against the Steelers and Eagles, who, mind you, are 2 top 3 defenses in the NFL, and I think he's only going to get better. And it's not just me. The 33rd team also has not given up on Jayden Daniels, because even after the Eagles loss, they still feel like Jayden Daniels is a top 4 quarterback in the NFL, number 4 to be exact. They have Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff, Josh Allen, Jayden Daniels, then everybody else in the NFL. That's even higher than Tua Tagovailoa, Pat Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, all of these other quarterbacks, even Jalen Hurts himself. And again, just to make the point about all of the rookies, Jayden Daniels isn't even on the same side of the chart as them. You got to go all the way on the right side to see Drake May at 19, Bo Nix at 23, and Caleb Williams at 24. So let's go ahead and put that conversation to rest there as far as like the other rookie quarterbacks. But even as far as out of all of the quarterbacks in the NFL, they still consider Jayden Daniels to at least be a top 5 quarterback. And again, we were just talking about in my video that I put out last night / early this morning that even Micah Parsons and Trevon Diggs agree as well as current Cowboys players and division rivals to Jayden Daniels himself. And also, don't be surprised if Jayden Daniels has his best career game tomorrow against the Cowboys. I wouldn't be shocked at all. First of all, their defense is terrible. That's number 1. That's number 1. So that's one big reason already. But also, I feel like he has enough pride to come out here with a purpose and revenge in his eyes against the Cowboys. Basically, take that frustration that you gained from the Steelers and Eagles out on the Cowboys. And then number 3, lastly, those last 2 defenses he went up against were top 3 defenses, literally number 2 and number 3 in points allowed per game. So imagine playing a video game on the hardest difficulty and then suddenly switching it to the easiest difficulty possible. And so I just think off rip that those 3 factors alone, Jayden Daniels is gonna just explode against the Cowboys. And then also, even beyond that, he has 10 days to prepare. So how about we make that a 4th reason? This guy has the most time to prepare for this game since he had the entire offseason to get ready for the Buccaneers. This is the most preparation time Jayden Daniels has had since week 1 of the regular season. So I'm expecting, because of those 4 factors, that Jayden Daniels potentially has his best game of his entire NFL career so far. Well, his rookie career, just 1 year so far. But either way, out of all of these great moments that he's had against the Bengals, the Cardinals, all of these great games, the Hail Mary against the Bears, all of these like elite performances where people are saying that he's the MVP of the league just a few weeks ago, I think Jayden Daniels is going to even outdo those performances against the Cowboys. Just you watch. And then even moving on, Kevin Durant gave his prediction for the Cowboys versus the Commanders. He predicted that the Commanders will win 31-17. He predicted that Jayden Daniels will have 220 passing yards. I think that's actually very humble and modest to him. I think he's going to explode for 300 or more, but we'll see. And then Brian Robinson Jr. and Terry McLaurin will each score touchdowns. He did his picks for like every game this entire weekend, but of course he's a Commanders fan, so we care about his opinions when it comes to the Commanders, especially against the Cowboys, our arch rival, and those were his predictions for us. And then shouts out to NFL.com, because if you go look at the current seeding right now, when they show the current odds, if we lose to the Dallas Cowboys, they still feel like we have a 65% chance of making the playoffs. Right now, before the Cowboys game, they feel like we have an 86% chance. But if we beat the Cowboys, they feel like we have an 88% chance to make the playoffs. And not only do I think we're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys, I think we're going to embarrass them for, if anything, just revenge for what happened last year. I know most of the people, most of the roster, the coaching staff, front office, and guys that were here last year are no longer here, but there's still got to be a sense of pride. You go back and look at what they pulled off against us on Thanksgiving last year, or even the last game of the season as well, where they were more so focused on how they'll celebrate than how they'll actually beat us. I think we got to go out there with a certain purpose, a certain level of motivation, chip on our shoulder to prove that, first of all, we are not a bad offense. We are not a bad team. Yeah, we've lost 2 games in a row for the first time all season, but those were against great teams. The Cowboys are not a great team. You know what I'm saying? That's not the Steelers, who we lost to by 1 point, and Olamide Zaccheaus gifted them a touchdown. That's not the Eagles, who we were up 10-6 against in the fourth quarter. The Dallas Cowboys are not that at all. So 88% chance of making the playoffs after beating the Cowboys, and I think that's very likely. That's great. That's a great thing to hear. That's a great feeling moving into tomorrow's game. And then also, before we get up out of here, shouts out to Scott Jennings of Hogs Haven for compiling all of the power rankings that he could find on the internet for the Washington Commanders. Just to let you know, our highest position is 8, our lowest position is 13, with our average is 9.7. Also, he has our odds right now. Our odds of making the playoffs were minus 750 before the Eagles lost. Now they're minus 600. And then winning the division went from plus 195 to plus 450 after the Eagles lost. Then winning the conference went from plus 1,200 to plus 1,500 after the Eagles lost. And then winning the Super Bowl went from plus 2,500 to plus 3,800 after the Eagles lost as well. Now let's dive into the power rankings. We're not going to sit here and read the descriptions of every single one, especially the longer ones, because, you know, typically I save that for like a video where I just solely only talk about the power rankings that we were given from all of the different websites and networks and experts around the NFL. If that's like the video by itself, we'll do that. But we're just going to kind of go through here, especially the higher ones. I'm going to make sure I read the higher ones. As we get to the lower ones, we'll probably just skip past those. So all of the people that felt like we're the 8th best team in NFL, you have Yahoo Sports. They said the Commanders trailed 12-10 at the Eagles. Philadelphia with 8 minutes left when a 4th down gamble didn't work. It was a closer loss than we'll remember. If Washington handles business in the next 3 games versus Dallas, Tennessee, and New Orleans, the Commanders will be at 10 wins. That's 10-4, and that'll be fine. And again, we'll just let you know they had us last week at 7, now 8 after the Eagles lost. USA Today, they said the team contends nothing is wrong with rookie quarterback Jayden Daniels, even though he's played his least efficient 59.1% completion rate, 74.9 passer rating, and impactful 23 rushing yards, 1 touchdown generated football during the current 2-game losing streak. Then NFL Trade Rumors also has us as 8. They said in losses to the Steelers and Eagles, the Commanders might be learning they're still a year away from true contention with the NFL's elite. First-round quarterback Jayden Daniels continues to impress, and they aren't out of the division hunt yet. Then 9, as far as having us ranked 9th best team in the NFL, Sporting News said the Commanders are looking more like a shaky wildcard team as the tougher teams on their schedule are giving them difficulty. The first place Eagles were their latest after falling to the Ravens and Steelers. Washington has a favorable slate ahead to rebound and finish strong. I agree. Clutch points. The Commanders came out on the wrong side of their Thursday night matchup against the Eagles. Even with their late game comeback attempt, Daniels and the entire offense had a disappointing showing, even with touchdowns from Brian Robinson and Zach Ertz. Remember, the Zach Ertz one was a garbage time touchdown, though, so I don't even really count that, but my fantasy team appreciated it. Then Sportsnot, they said the Washington Commanders are the 2nd best team in the NFC East. If you ask Washington's coaching staff and front office if they considered being a wild card contender, that is considered one of the 10 best teams in the NFL in 2024. They'd sign up for it in a heartbeat. So while Jayden Daniels with the 89.6 quarterback rating, 59.5% completion rate, and a 232 passing yards per game in the last 4 games is hitting a bit of a rookie wall, Washington remains in a phenomenal spot moving forward. Then Pro Football Talk also feels like we're the 9th best team in the NFL. They said the offense is getting sluggish and the coaching on Thursday night was not good enough. Fox Sports, same thing. The Commanders can deny it if they want to, but Jayden Daniels looks like a different player since the rib injury he suffered roughly a month ago. Hopefully the long weekend off provides him time to recover because Washington's ceiling looks much lower when Daniels isn't firing on all cylinders. Walter Football, same thing. ninth best team in the NFL. The Redskins aren't ready to compete with the big boys yet. They'll be like the Texans last year. They'll make the playoffs and perhaps win in the first round until losing to one of the top teams. Jayden Daniels needs another receiver and better tackle play. Hey man, especially that receiver one, but tackle you can even argue as well. But I think Brandon Coleman to get better. I see like a light at the end of the tunnel tackle wise. Receiver wise, we're just gonna have to draft the guy and get something through free agency. Probably should have made a move before the trade deadline, but at the same time, I understand we're not putting all of our eggs in one basket just this season. Bleacher Report. Super basically long essay explanation of what happened to the Commanders, but they feel like we're the ninth best team as well. Bleeding Green Nation also feels like we're ninth. Sharp Football Analysis also feels like we're ninth. Then ESPN feels like we're 10th, along with NFL.com, The Athletic, the 33rd team, Pro Football Network, New York Post, The Score, and Number Fire. And then as far as teams that feel like we're the 11th best team in the NFL, CBS Sports, Sports Illustrated, OddsShark. Then the 12th best team, you have team rankings. And then the 13th best team in NFL, the lowest out of any power ranking in the entire NFL, is the Ringer. You know, I'm actually curious why they felt this way. First of all, they felt like our passing offense is second with a 0.25 EPA per dropback, even after an ugly back-to-back loss games against the Steelers and Eagles. Then rushing offense were 7th when it comes to EPA per rush. Passing defense were 21st and rushing defense were 31st. They also said this coaching staff has a reputation for ending seasons poorly. Keep your eye on Washington. I don't exactly know how we feel that way about this coaching staff, because how do we know? Like, this, we just got here. But either way, they said the 2024 season will be remembered as a successful Washington no matter how things end. But head coach Dan Quinn and offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury have to find a way to regain some offensive rhythm. That unit hasn't fallen totally off a cliff, but the passing game has come back to earth over the last few weeks, and that's shining a light on other deficiencies on this roster. Quarterback Jayden Daniels has completed just 59.5% of his passes in his last 4 games, and he hasn't avoided pressure as easily as he did before he suffered a rib injury against the Panthers. Without his superpowers lifting the overall level of this team, it's hard to imagine Washington looking like a true playoff threat down the stretch. So just to let you know, even the website that felt like they gave us the lowest ranking out of any website that did power rankings, they still feel like we have a great chance of making the playoffs. And that was really the main point I wanted to prove here. That's why I brought up the fact that we have an 88% chance of making the playoffs. For a lot of y'all that feel like the sky is falling, the main reason that I wanted to bring this up again, our average of a 9.7 placement in these power rankings is still very much so a playoff team. And again, even the website that felt like the Ringer, that felt like we were only the 13th best team in the NFL, they are the lowest on us out of all of the other websites and experts, and they still feel like we'll make the playoffs. And I mean, you even had who's it, Walter Football, that felt like, yeah, maybe this is like the Texans, where they're maybe like a year away from being Super Bowl contenders, but still feel like even this year in their rookie season of a new coaching staff, new front office, Jayden Daniels and all of these guys, that they could even not only just make the playoffs but even win a game. But then when it comes to the NFC conference championship game, that's when some people feel like we'll finally get that loss. But either way, a lot of people, even the people that are the furthest down on us, still feel like we have a great chance of making the playoffs. So I just wanted to tell you, basically, worst case scenario, all of these experts still feel like we're a playoff team. For those of y'all, again, who feel like the sky is falling and this season is just a wash, it's not over, bro. First of all, we're 7-4 right now after already playing arguably our toughest opponents on the schedule. We play the Eagles one more time. And looking at the rest of the schedule, like I've already explained, with the Cowboys tomorrow, the Titans, then bye week, then the Saints, Eagles, Falcons, and Cowboys. I mean, maybe the Eagles game, maybe you count that as a loss, even though I feel like at home we have a great chance of beating them, especially once Jayden Daniels is fully healthy. And then you add a Marshawn Lattimore, who should be playing by then. I feel like we have a great chance of beating them. But even just say you wanted to give that as a loss, I don't see why we should lose to any of these other teams on the schedule. I mean, the Falcons just lost to the sorry Saints 2 weeks ago, the tanking Saints, immediately after they traded away Marshawn Lattimore, arguably their best player on the entire team, easily their best player defensively. So, I mean, the Falcons lost to that. I'm not worried about the Falcons at all. So I'm looking at the rest of the schedule, and I mean, maybe you want to give that second Eagles game a loss. That's 5 losses all season. That's 12-5. I'm not mad at that at all. I still think that's a great season. I mean, even if you go to the playoffs, even win a game or not in the playoffs, 12-5 is an elite rookie season for this team, this roster, this coaching staff, this front office. Elite stuff, man. The sky is not falling. And again, like I brought up a few weeks ago, this is the worst this team will be I think in the foreseeable future. That's like my main thing. Look at this Commanders team right now. This is as bad as it will get. Yeah, it's not bad. It's actually pretty great. Again, I think we'll finish the season 12-5 very realistically. But this is the worst version of the Commanders you'll ever see, because this has only been one draft, one free agency from this front office, from this coaching staff. Imagine what they could do once they're here to develop guys for more than a season, because it's not just the guys you pick up in free agency in the draft. It's also this coaching staff having a chance to develop these guys for more than just one season. Imagine what it's going to look like once they've been under this development from this coaching staff for more than one season. And then also when we bring in another class of rookies from the draft, another class of free agents. And we already saw that report from Adam Schefter a few weeks ago, right before the trade deadline. The players were literally asking their agents, can you please send me to Washington? Imagine when free agency hits and they don't even have to ask a team to trade them to the Commanders. They could just come join us for free in free agency and just get their money. I'm telling you, man, this is the worst the Commanders will probably be for the next 10-15 years, in my personal opinion. So I'm really excited. I'm very optimistic about our future. And it all starts with beating the Cowboys tomorrow. Matter of fact, demolishing them again. Like I'm predicting it's like 40-something to something single digit on the other side for them boys. 40-something to 10, 40-something to 7, something like that. Disrespectful. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know if you feel about everything discussed in the video. Please stick on that like button, stick on the subscription button, stick on the bell next to that subscription button so you get a notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting all of the videos. If you made it this far in the video, you are the real GOAT, man. I really appreciate you. Please make sure you leave that like button. Hit that like button on the way out and let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Are you as optimistic about the future of this team 2024 wise and beyond just like me? Are you as optimistic as I am? Also, let me know how you feel about how teams are going about trying to beat Jayden Daniels, how to discourage him, how to catch him off guard, how to keep him down and things like that. Also, how do you feel about the Washington Commanders' chances of making the playoffs? And also, how do you feel about our chances about beating the Cowboys tomorrow, especially by beating them by a lot of points like I think? Let me know how you feel about all of that and how we were placed in a lot of power rankings around the NFL. Let me know how you feel about all of that and more. I'm gonna try my best to read and reply to as many comments as possible when I'm not busy. Really appreciate y'all. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.